Hey everybody, welcome to Breaktime. My name's David Liddell, and this is show number 2 of Breaktime Buy, Sell, Trade, and Breaks. Well, the last show, I learned a lot. I didn't get a lot of comments, but people that I associate with and put around me say that I needed to work on a few things, and one of them is not be so monotone. So I'm going to be switching it up a little bit with my tone here. So, today's show... Intro, got that out of the way. Topics, baseball contracts, unions, owners, what that means for baseball this year and in the coming years. 30 for 30, long gone summer. It's coming up sooner rather than later. So get your stuff ready for that. Buy as many, and I mean as many Jose Canseco cards that you possibly can. Pace 10s. In particular, always do best. And right now is the time to buy them before the documentary comes out. If The Last Dance has taught us anything about what sports cards do in the middle of a documentary. So, another topic we're going to talk about today is sports card investing and what that can do for not only the short term, but the long term. What to collect, why to collect it, and when to collect it, for sure. That's another huge one right there, is never, ever, ever pick up high-value rookies in the regular season, and especially not in the postseason, in the finals, the championships, whatever. Do not do it. It is a huge pitfall because you're going to buy high, and yeah, if you love the guy, great, but you're going to have to wait until next year and hope to God that he does well again for your cards to go up. So do not buy when there's a high demand. Buy in the off season. We'll talk more about that when we get to it. So, welcome to Break Time. So we're going to jump right into it. Baseball contracts, unions, and owners. Right now there is a very, very interesting thing going on between baseball players, the unions that they associate themselves with, the Major League Baseball as an entity, and the owners of the baseball teams. So the way I understand it is that these players, every baseball player, a part of these unions, has a contract. They signed a contract with the owners of their teams that they would take a pay cut. And I believe it was 50% for this year being, if they were to start the baseball season, it would be a short year. So they took a pay cut. And now they signed that contract. Everything was understood. But now the owners are coming back for even more of that. And what makes it an even juicier story is that they claim that the reason they're asking for more of this money back, whether there's a season or not, is that they would be losing so much money with there no baseball being happening this year. So why the hell do these owners expect another 50% of these people's money? And it's hard to feel sorry for somebody that makes $30 million a year, of course, being, a normal Joe like me, and like you, I imagine. Not everybody makes that kind of money, but it's hard to feel sorry for these guys, for making so much money. But it doesn't matter the amount, it's the principle. Because if you're a player and your face is the one making these guys money, your performance is making these guys money, and they already promised you that the contract was going to be a certain way, they're going to take half, everyone's going to go on their way, whether the season happens or not, that's fine. But then you come back for more, as if you don't already make millions and billions as a baseball team owner in the first place? Are you joking? What's really happening is there's this theory that these owners have these offshore bank accounts that they hold all of their real money in, and they're hiding that money so that they don't have to, so that they can play the victim, so that they can say, well, we don't have the money to support there being no baseball, and not cutting these guys' salaries even more, when that's obviously not the truth. And I'm not sure if that's been substantiated, but I know for a fact that these, million and billionaires tend to hide their money, where it's not going to be taxed as much, and they don't want anybody to know about it. So, just kind of a really weird thing going on in baseball right now. And what really sucks is that if it weren't for the owners, they would be figuring out how the hell they're going to restart the season, or give a solution to the people who really count on sports, as not just an entertainment source, but also a source of income. Just the baseball players themselves, the venue owners, the stadium owners, the people who work in those stadiums are counting on baseball to come back. And if the owners and the players and the unions are just going to keep fighting over money, then there's going to be no room for talk about bringing baseball back. And that's exactly what's happening, is that there's just not enough talk about actually bringing the sport back this year, whether it's a shorter season or an accelerated season. They're going to change up the divisions and stuff like that, whatever. They haven't started talking about it. Not, at least they've been giving more attention to getting more money out of these players, even though there was a contract already in place. So it's a big freaking mess, and it's a weird time to be a sports lover right now, because the only thing that's even close to, like a light at the end of the tunnel right now is football. And, football is one of the biggest sports in America. But if you're like a basketball fan, like me, I want to finish out the season. I want to see the finals. The Last Dance was supposed to be, after each week of the finals, and that one is going to be out of this world awesome. Like, it was one of those things that like everyone was looking forward to, and then Corona happened, and just the series this year would have been amazing. Like, I had money on the Bucks and the Lakers, making it all the way, and then the Lakers would ultimately win. You can speculate all you want on that, but that's me. But it's like, if you're like me and you're hoping for sports to come back because it's such a huge part of your life, that's just as an American, just as somebody who's a sports lover, it really hurts my feelings that these owners don't care about that, and all they want to do is squeeze as much possible cash out of their players as possible. So you have every right to be angry with these baseball owners, same as me. So that's my take on that situation. And like I said, it is hard to feel sorry for these guys, and you're like, well, just play this year, and we'll renegotiate next year. Take another half cut after your first half cut, and we'll move on. Next year, everything will be back to normal. Which comes to my second point, is that I myself am a part, or was a part, of a union, Teamsters. I'm not sure what baseball unions are exactly. They're probably, very private, very small. But when it comes to a union, we have to, the people who work with the union for a company, so in this case, the baseball players work for the Major League Baseball and their, teams as a whole, and they have to negotiate for for money, for rights, for certain services like medical and occupational therapies and stuff like that. So you have to fight for that stuff. We have to, me as a part of a union, have to fight for that stuff. Now, every time that a contract comes up, or there's a change in company status, so in this particular case, COVID-19 changing the way that, baseball can be played, there has to be a renegotiation. So when you go to the negotiating table, the unions and the companies, so in this case, the unions and the teams, and I believe just the organization of Major League Baseball, they have to sit down and talk about what's what. So the original contract was that they take a half, cut for this year, and then next year they'll renegotiate a real, either go back to the way things were or renegotiate again as a full year contract. So, or longer, 3-year contract. I'm not sure how long Major League Baseball union contracts are, but normally it's about 3 years. So it really depends on what they want to agree to. But if the players take less now, if they agree to take another half of their pay cut, then in future negotiations, they're going to use that to their leverage. The companies are, the teams are. They're going to use that as a say, hey, you took less then, and, you were fine. I mean, these guys make millions of dollars. I mean, how much do you really need? They're going to say, well, you took less last time, this last negotiation, so why wouldn't we have you guys, take less another time? The next time that they go negotiating after this, after Corona's over. So it's a really crappy deal that like companies and these teams do. It's really crappy because they take this situation and later on they're going to try to apply it and make it harder for these guys to get paid more or get better services out of their teams and companies. So taking less now just means trouble for later. And it also just makes no sense why anybody would be on the owner's side when everybody knows these guys make stupid money. So why give them more? And I mean, I'm not going to talk too much more about it, but it just really ticks me off. And please leave in the comments your take on this situation, because I'd love to learn more if somebody knows something that I don't. And next up, we have a little bit about Long Gone Summer. It's going to be the next big documentary coming out on June 14th. It's to follow one of 3 documentaries, 30 for 30s that ESPN is doing, starting with Lance, which I believe just got over this last Sunday, and Be Water. So the Lance documentary is all about Lance Armstrong and his doping schemes during his career, all his Tour de France's, and as well as like his fight with cancer. And I need to watch that one myself. I never really saw Lance Armstrong as that grave an athlete, but this documentary series makes me want to learn more before I watch Long Gone Summer, because I mean, there's nothing else to watch for one, and two, ESPN after The Last Dance definitely knows how to make a documentary. So, and then also, Be Water is all about Bruce Lee and about his induction into Hollywood after his rejection of it. Apparently, he had a hard time molding his life around becoming a Hollywood superstar, as well as like the martial artist that he wanted to become. R.I.P. to Bruce Lee for sure. But Long Gone Summer is all going to be about Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa's chase after Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle's previous home run chase, which by the end of it, Roger Maris ended up with 61 home runs back in 1961. And the documentary is going to be all about the home run chase between McGwire and Sosa in 1998 season, ending with Sosa having 66 home runs and Mark McGwire with 70, holding the current home run record in a single season. So the documentary is directed by A.J. Schnacks, which, by the way, what an amazing name. I wish my last name was Schnacks. It's spelled S-C-H-N-A-C-K-S. Schnacks. Legendary name. Okay, but moving on from that. So yeah, Sosa ended up not getting caught for doping, whereas Mark McGwire definitely did. In fact, they both happened to be the poster boys for this like widespread steroid use back in the 90s. And it's unfortunate that you can't really say that they, I suppose, can keep their records. They should definitely have a huge asterisk next to those records. Same thing with the Astros. But we'll get into that on another show. But as far as the documentary is concerned, their records will forever have asterisks next to them. So really, in my mind, and I imagine in a lot of other people's minds, Roger Maris still holds the official record. Now, some would say that, well, back in the 1960s, who knew what guys were doing? And I mean, I don't know if this is completely historically accurate, but I'm pretty sure they prescribed cocaine as a pain reliever back then. So, it's really hard to say whether, we could compare today's standards of baseball health and, steroid drug use to back in the day. I mean, who knows what these guys were doing? I mean, they had donut and cigarette sandwiches, for Christ's sake. And, it's kind of like, and dare I say, very, very similar to the Michael Jordan versus LeBron argument, that LeBron could never have played well in the in Michael Jordan's day. And I don't want to get too much into that, but it's sort of the same situation where, it's too bad that Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire are the letterheads for drug use in sports, but, who knows what these other guys were doing. But nonetheless, it just speaks to the time, because everyone who was in Major League Baseball who did well, took some form of steroids, and it may not be completely official, but there's been plenty of reports, through history of guys kind of ratting other guys out for taking juice while they're, training or in the middle of a season. So, Long Gone Summer is going to be a really enjoyable documentary. I really can't wait to listen to it. I still need to watch Be Water and Lance as well, so it's probably going to be a full week. I'm really excited to see those. And so what it means for cards, it's huge. I mean, if you go to eBay right now and search up, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco, Tony Gwynn, just the list goes on. These rookie cards are having a resurgence. So, it's the same thing that happened to the lead up to The Last Dance. And I, as a collector, am most likely going to get in on it early, because I took some advice from one of the guys that got me into collecting, and he said that while these guys that grew up during the 90s watching baseball finally have the money to spend on these guys that are reaching the limelight again because of this documentary. So why wouldn't they? And that's one of the biggest things that's driving these sales, is that these guys are coming up in the news again. And everyone who's collecting way back in the day has figured out that the hobby is still pretty strong. And it's nothing like what it used to be, but you can definitely find a collector, in their late 30s, early 40s, 50s, 60s, who grew up watching these guys play, and how amazing it must have been, especially in 1998 during that home run challenge, to see Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa just smack them out of the park every single game almost. Combined home runs of, 70 and 66. That's 136 home runs. That's insane. Like, and that's just between those two. And such a crazy story. I can't wait to watch it myself. I'm really looking forward to that. It's just unfortunate that we wouldn't know what history would really be like if they didn't dope. So that's one thing that kind of sucks about 1998's home run challenge, is that we just don't know. Maybe it would have been somebody else who would climbed the ladder and hit more home runs, and maybe they wouldn't have broke the home run record at all. Who knows? But definitely, as far as like the Cards are concerned, I don't think anybody really cares as much anymore, because they grew up watching these guys play and smack balls out of the park. And that was, one of the best times in baseball. Unfortunately, ended up being one of the worst times to collect baseball cards because of such hype that was happening, and I mean, all through the history of baseball cards, there's been overprinting and mass production, but nowhere near what came out of the 80s and 90s. So that was the true consequence, is that everybody had one. But now everybody's finding out that it isn't as easy to find a PSA 10 as you might think. All that old junk wax, it's been sitting in somebody's basement under a box, probably something heavy, and, it's dinged up the corners, or, if you decide to buy some wax and go hunting for a Mark McGwire or a Sammy Sosa or a Tony Gwynn rookie card, Jose Canseco rookie card, it's going to be difficult to find that PSA 10, which is what everybody's after right now. So either buy them already graded, or, cross your fingers and send them in. So that's one thing to think about if you're in the investing portion of collecting. And if you're somebody who just wants, a rookie card, go buy one. It's worth it. It's a piece of history, and, hopefully because of this documentary, it'll truly cement their place in some of the best baseball players that ever lived. So on the topic of cards and investing, I wanted to talk a little bit about players you should invest in right now, because sports aren't around, and prices are a little wonky because the market's being manipulated a little bit. I talked about that in my last video, but guys that you should buy right now are definitely Giannis Antetokounmpo. Plays for the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's see, he was a rookie in 2014, I believe. 2014. 2013-14. And his Prism rookie card right now is hovering around $500 to $600. And knowing from past experience owning one, they go as high as 7 to 8 raw, and then if you get them graded, if you are lucky enough to get a PSA 10, it's like a $2,300, $2,500 card. So, definitely something to jump into. It's expensive. I'm not going to say that like everybody's going to have the money, but if you want to get somebody that's going to guarantee a good turnaround, as good as Giannis, he's your guy. So same thing with LeBron James. So, everyone has their opinions on LeBron James, but truth is, he is an investment. He is a still playing investment. And his stuff always going up, especially now that he's on the Lakers. His revenge year. I mean, and yeah, it got cut short, but who knows what he's going to come back and do next year. So, all in all, LeBron James, just like Michael Jordan, is going to be in the history books forever. So you need, if you're planning on getting into sports cards and you really want to put some good money into it, LeBron James Topps Chrome rookie card. And if you have enough money, either pick up a refractor or even a numbered parallel. They're not easy to find. And it's and they're big money. So that's definitely a big money card if you can find it raw. And not to mention if you can find it graded. Similarly, you have Mike Trout, his Topps update card. So it's seeing unprecedented movement on eBay right now. It's slowed down a little bit, thankfully, but they're hovering raw around $850. So very expensive, yes. But it is Mike Trout. He is the highest paid baseball player ever, and I mean ever. So Mike Trout's definitely going to be one of those cards that's going to continue to go up and will, as long as he can end his career on a high note, always go up from then on, especially once he retires and especially once he gets into the Hall of Fame. He is a Hall of Famer. You cannot tell me otherwise. Another good baseball player to get into right now is Derek Jeter. He just got inducted into the Hall of Fame in February, and his big hitter card is his SP foil. I own one myself. It is a BGS 9, and if you're gonna buy one, make sure you're gonna get one that's already graded. And the reason I say that is there's nothing wrong with buying an ungraded Jeter, but if you plan on grading it, there is something you need to watch out for. If you decide to send your Derek Jeter SP foil to PSA, they may not accept it. So I just learned this the other day myself. If you send a Jeter to PSA, it might be undercut. So back when they made the SP set in 1993 for baseball, they undercut a lot of these cards. So, I mean, Derek Jeter from that set is probably the only one you're getting graded, or at least in my opinion. But if you send it into PSA, they'll just send it back to you. So then you can send it to BGS, and they will recognize it as, an authentic card, and they'll just, grade it regularly. So if you want to be safe, then you can just send it to BGS, but I will give you a little bit of a caveat to that. A PSA, let's say you get a PSA 8 or higher, because PSA doesn't take every single Derek Jeter SP foil, the ones that are, about a third of them, are highly sought after. So they're definitely going to hold their value a lot more. So let's say you buy a raw one, and you send it to PSA anyway, and you end up with a PSA 8. I believe PSA 8s are hovering around like the $2,800 range, depending on the auction. And then if you get a PSA 9, you're looking around $4,500 to $5,000. So whatever you end up putting into your raw one, if you decide to send it to PSA, you get a pretty decent grade, then you're sitting pretty. But if you get it sent back, and it's like, and you're going to resubmit it to BGS, which they will for sure accept every single time and grade, and you get a 9, those are, doing pretty well. Not as good as PSA because of the exclusivity, but right now currently in between $1,100 and $1,200, and that is an increase from 3 weeks ago when I bought mine at $800. So big increase just in the last couple of months. I believe it might have something to do with the documentary. Who knows? But I'll take it. I really wanted to buy this as a large investment piece. I had the money, and I am not regretting it whatsoever. So, and then the big one, and it will always be the big one no matter what grading service you use, as long as it's authentic, as long as you can get it graded, it will always be the best card to buy, and that is, of course, the Michael Jordan Flir 1986 card. It is not his rookie card. It is the first year that Flir made a basketball set. So it is his first Flir card, essentially. So his actual rookie card would be the 94-95 season, which I believe Star made. I believe it was Star or Upper Deck. Can't remember. But one of his biggest Second-year cards would be the 1986 Flir, which everyone says, likes to say is his rookie, but it definitely is not. Nonetheless, one of the best investment pieces you can possibly put, a decent chunk of money into. So, because of The Last Dance, we saw in the, collecting community a unprecedented amount of growth over a short period of time compared to any other players. And Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman definitely got, their recognition in the documentary, and their cards, definitely went up. Everybody said, oh, I grew up with these guys, but I had totally forgotten that Dennis Rodman was the rebound king, defensive king in his time, helped Michael Jordan go to 3 different championships. So, it's hard not to, love on Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen. But as far as, collecting is concerned, Michael Jordan is always going to be king of basketball and basketball cards. The only exception to that, I would say, would be LeBron James. And coming up is, Zion Williamson. And, we saw 2018 Luka Doncic. So these guys are huge right now. Everybody wants to get their rookie cards. They're doing, I would say, just as good, if not better, as the Michael Jordan rookie cards. But the thing with Michael Jordan is, as an antique, it will always hold its value. Whereas, who knows if Luka Doncic and Zion Williamson are actually going to be up to the hype, throughout their career. So we shall see. Them, I will say right now, as a short-term investment would be a good idea as well. It's a little expensive right now, and I mean a little expensive, I mean greatly expensive. I just saw somebody had the select Zion Williamson on eBay, or excuse me, on one of my Facebook groups that I follow, and he wanted, I believe it was in a PSA 10 as well. He only wanted $35,000 for it. Now that seems cheap for a Zion Williamson 1 of 1, but the market is kind of weird right now. So, and you saw the same kind of money going out for Luka Doncic the year before, and really, like, in my mind, those two guys are definitely going to be the ones to choose from. And it's really unfortunate that we didn't get to see Zion play a full season this year, and with the unfortunate news that he has gained a little bit of weight, which will tell, volumes in the upcoming season, or maybe partial season in the future. And like Luka Doncic and Zion Williamson, I would say that Trae Young, Lonzo Ball are another couple guys to pick up for basketball. Baseball, you can definitely never go wrong with Acuna, Juan Soto, Luis Robert, especially their first Bowman Chrome rookie card autos, if you can get them. They're very, very expensive, but especially for Luis Robert, he's a prospect on the Sox, and he's going to be big. Everyone wants to see him do well. I definitely do myself. And that's another couple guys. Gavin Lux is another one. And right now their cards are high, but if they tend to do well, during the season, then their cards will definitely go up. I didn't talk about any football guys. So for football, definitely looking out for, Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones. They're very expensive right now, but if you can pick up like a Lamar Jackson or a Patrick Mahomes, I tend to be on the fence with Tom Brady, especially now that he's a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. It's such a weird thing to say that he's going to be wearing orange, gray, black, and white instead of red, white, and blue. Even though I know for a fact that the Patriots are happy with Jarrett Stidham. he's definitely a electric guy around the Patriots community, or at least from what I can see from his Twitter, at least. Everybody seems to like him over there. As well as vintage football cards as well. So, like, you got your, like, Bart Stars and, Johnny Unitas. And, some guys are even creeping up there, like Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's getting up there. Big name quarterbacks, Brett Favre is always a good investment. Guys that are in the Hall of Fame and also like in the running for the Hall of Fame as well. So always good to pick up Hall of Famers. There are, those few exceptions where it's like, there was like a defensive running back who got into the Hall of Fame and, nobody knows his name. So, be very selective. If it's a name that you've heard, it's most likely somebody that you're going to want to collect. And if it's somebody that who is like ultra famous, has all these records and clout in the sports community, as somebody who you'd want to pick up. But you just have to be selective. Make sure that you're trying to stick with rookie cards, because rookie cards are king. But you also have to be selective of what type rookie cards as well. So they're the different products that are made by these card companies between, Upper Deck, Flir, Topps, Panini, with all their billion products that they put out every year. You got to make sure you're being selective with the rookie cards that you do buy, that you do want to invest in. Because let's say you want to buy a Daniel Jones rookie card, and you say, oh, well, this Phoenix rookie card over here, it's super cool, it's got all these colors, it's low numbered, I should buy it. And I would say, if you think that's a cool card, that's great. But if you want to hold on to it and you think that Daniel Jones is going to be great, it is not the card that you want to hold on to. You will be looking for Prism, Optic, National Treasures, with Flawless is another good one as far as like Panini is concerned. And you want to stick with the higher end products if you can. It's not bad to have, I hate to say second rate, but just these, less popular brands of rookie cards, because that's not what everybody's going to want. So definitely be selective when you're out shopping for cards you want to either invest in or want to collect yourself, because, what if your tastes change one of these days and you're stuck with a Phoenix rookie card of Daniel Jones that, let's say you bought it for $5, and then, 10 years down the road, Daniel Jones is this amazing quarterback, and it's worth like, $5. Whereas the Prism rookie card has definitely risen in value, as well as his Optic cards and National Treasures. So, like I said, be selective. Don't take the cheaper option, especially if you're investing, because you're just going to be playing a really bad game with your money. And make sure that you remind yourself that, yeah, you bought this card and you have it in your collection, but it's not money until you sell it. So if you don't want to sell something until you feel like it's worth what you want it to be worth, don't sell it. And there's all sorts of seller remorse when it comes to collecting, because I, along with a lot of the people that I know and are in Facebook groups with, tend to sell their cards way too early, and then they get on and they're like, well, shouldn't have done that, because, I've done it myself. I sold my Mike Trout auto way too soon. So I completely understand what it's like to, say, hey, I made a little bit of money and that's great. And then a week later, it turns out that the card you sold ends up selling for much, much more after that. So definitely be selective about when you want to sell as well. make sure that you're not selling in the off season when you want to be buying cards in the off season. Do not sell in the off season. I have made that mistake. It is terrible. When you come back, you're ready for the next season, and you're like, oh, well, I made a pretty good profit off of that card during the off season, and then it triples in price as soon as the season starts. It is a shitty feeling. So be very selective about that as well. And really quickly, I just want to give more shout-outs to Super Sports Cards and More, Justin, Dave Blackwell, and the family over at Super Sports Cards and More. They're amazing. It's an awesome atmosphere when you walk in. They'll tell you everything you need to know, tell you what's good, tell you what's not, and if you have stuff that you want to bring into the shop to get appraised or looked at or to sell, they're always accommodating to that. And I couldn't recommend their card shop more. And on another note, Jim Peters over at Lucky Breaks does a ton of collaborations with Super Sports Cards and More. Jim Peters is a big name in the game when it comes to breaking cards online, as well as his amazing Facebook group that he runs, as well as once a month, Jim Peters heads over to Super Sports Cards and More and does Trade Night, which is one of my favorite events of the month. They have it once every month on a Saturday, and Jim heads over to Super Sports Cards, and they do live events, they do raffles, they do breaks, live sales, what have you, and it's just a good time. People on the Facebook group can watch live as they do breaks and get in raffles as well. And Jim wanders around the shop asking people if they, on his page, if they want to get into stuff on Super Sports Cards. So it's just a very, I'd say, symbiotic relationship between Jim Peters and the Super Sports Cards and More team. I also want to give my group a shout out, Breaktime, Buy, Sell, Trade, and Breaks. I just got done taking care of my business license. It takes 10 freaking business days to get a reply back, but as far as I know, I'm going to be in business probably by the end of the month. I'll have some cases of cards. I just need to also call the bank, get myself a small business loan, and I'll start doing breaks here pretty soon. I think my first tentative plans of breaking are going to be 2019 Prism football, and if I can get my hands on it, if the bank will allow me the amount that I would like, also a case of 2019 Prism or Select basketball. Super hot products, very, very expensive, but it's what people want, and it's what I want to provide on my group. Go check me out on Facebook, Breaktime, Buy, Sell, Trade, and Breaks. It's a very small group right now, but I hope to change that with the combination of my podcast on YouTube, my continued hard work on TikTok, making small little videos about tips and tricks, getting into collecting, and just trying to recruit people. I have a $20 raffle going on right now, and as soon as we hit 100 members, I'm going to raffle that $20 to one big winner. And I'm really excited. I really want to get my group going. Juggling all this stuff has definitely been a new experience for me, but I hope that I can get a decent following. I hope people will come to me if they want to, get in a break or sell something on my group. I hope people recognize me on TikTok because I really enjoy TikTok. I didn't think I would, but I definitely do, and it's definitely fun. It's a good time. So go check me out over on TikTok. Same name, Breaktime, Buy, Sell, Trade, and Breaks. I'll see you there. And that concludes show number 2 of Breaktime, Buy, Sell, Trade, and Breaks podcast. Thanks for listening. Please, notes are always good. I want to hear back from my prospective fans. I hope that these shows get better for you guys. I know it's a weird world right now, and sports aren't around, and, there's not a lot going on otherwise. So, I hope you can listen to my show and, take some time out of your day, take a break, and enjoy something instead of the constant spray of crap and horror that's going on outside. So I'm your host, David Liddell, and have a good one.